What's happening, guys and gals? Welcome back to another episode with Mama and Papa Joe. Sitting out back this evening, nice cool Texas evening. We had a cold front come in a day or so ago. Our cold fronts aren't quite as cold as some of the rest of y'all's, but we'll take what we can get. Sitting here with Mama Joe. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're not going to be cooking anything, but we're going to be talking about welcoming the new cooks to competition barbecue. I know all of you out there aren't competition barbecuers, but just in case you're interested, or for anybody that's interested, we're going to be talking to you today. But even some of you seasoned cooks or some of you not interested can pick up a few good tidbits. So without further ado, let's go. Mama Joe and I have been competing for some 10 years now. We created our team in 2012, and we've done fairly well on the competition circuits. We've won some of the largest competitions here in the state of Texas. So the little bit of info we're going to be passing on to you today are coming from our experiences.
Trial and error.
Trial and error. Oh, absolutely. Lots of errors. There's a significant learning curve when it comes to competition barbecue. Just to start, I want to give you some of the basic supplies, some of the basic items you're going to need when it comes to competition barbecue. This is my toolbox that I carry to competitions, and it's got some of the or all of the tools that I need. Guys and gals, when you get out there to a cook-off, you're going to see some teams with massive equipment lists. I guarantee you it's not needed. The items that you're going to use are very few once you come to utilize them in their many different ways you can use them. Some of the simple things you're going to need, I'm just going to pull out a few items that I use and talk about them. All right, some good kitchen chairs, some spatulas. You're going to need an injector of sorts. There are fancy injectors out there. I am pretty simple. I use a disposable injector that I buy from Academy. A simple not gravy, but a fat separator. Based on how you're going to end up doing your briskets, you're going to need something similar to this, a fat separator. Your liquid goes in here, the fat rises to the bottom, and you pour off the good liquid. I am a fan of a slicing knife. I use a CEK 40 Cuisinart. It comes with a meat blade and a bread blade. I carry two of them in case one of them goes out. Some wool gloves to put underneath your plastic gloves or your rubber gloves when you're handling hot items. I carry a little strainer to strain out any solids before I pour my liquids into my fat separator. And that is pretty much it for tools. I've also got a large spatula for larger meats, briskets, pork butts, whatever the case might be. The less you have to manually touch your meats, the prettier your meats are going to look by handling them with a spatula. So very simple again, 95% of my tools fit into this little container.
And our rule of thumb is if we don't use it for 3 cook-offs in a row, then we just take it out the toolbox or take it off the pit.
Oh, absolutely. There was a time, our first couple of years, when we used to carry so much stuff to an event, it was ridiculous. And as we got more seasoned, we realized that, hey, this isn't being used, why are we carrying it? And we've really pared down what we take to a cook-off to the smallest amount of things as possible.
Bare minimum, yes.
Every single seasoning that we use for our 3 or 4 meats at an event fits into this little toolbox. Again, out there on the competition trail, you might see some folks with tables and tables of seasonings and sauces and everything else. Once you've gotten to the point where you've got down what you're going to use, something like this might be all that you need. We're not getting into seasonings and whatnot, just again, some of the basic necessities. This is what I take to a cook-off, and this is all I need for all my seasonings for all 3 meats, or all 4 meats, based on what it might be. Some simple racks. This is a cookie cooling tray. I can fit 2 racks of ribs on here. When it's time to rotate my ribs, very simple. I'm not picking them up manually. I'm not scuffing them up. I'm not messing with the layer of seasonings or glaze or whatever the case might be. I can close my pit quickly. I rotate, pit's closed. I don't have to worry about a spatula. I don't have to worry about picking them up. For chicken on my expert grill or my Weber, whatever the case might be, I've got legs if I need to raise them up. Very simple item. You can find these at someplace like a Ace Mart, Restaurant Supply. I use an electric knife, but I also carry my handhelds, my traditional knives, just in case there isn't power or my generator goes out. There are so many things that can happen that you have to have backups to the backups. I carry 2 electric knives in case one of them goes out. But if for some reason my generator goes out, I've got my backup knives. And speaking of generators, I've got a Yamaha inverter, 2000 off camera. One of the things that will really annoy your neighbors at cook-offs are loud generators. So you want to invest in a generator that you can actually hold a regular conversation at this table, and I could run my generator right underneath the table. Very quiet. So be conscious of keeping your neighbors' sanity in a good place. Otherwise, people will get to know who you are, and nobody's going to want to be around you.
And if you do have a noisy generator, keep it on your side and not your neighbor's side.
What you'll see at cook-offs are people will put their noisy generators on the back side of their camps, facing your camp. That way they don't have to hear it. But now you've got to deal with it for almost 48 hours. I don't wear a watch. I don't carry my phone at cook-offs. So I've got one of these atomic clocks. I place it in the same position every single event. I know where to look when I'm slicing meat. I know where to look when it's getting close to turning large numbers. So unless you wear a watch and you're comfortable wearing a watch the entire time, something like this is a great investment.
And if you wear a watch, it better be synced up with the head judge's time.
Oh, absolutely. A thermopen, an absolute necessity. Instant read, within a second or 2, it's reached its max read based on what you're probing into it. It also allows you to check for tenderness in your meats. These run about $79 online, but this is an absolute necessity. An absolute necessity. Right now, the weather's starting to get much cooler. What I have here is an immersion heater. This plugs in and will heat up your water to wash dishes. Well, Mom and I, we don't have an RV, so we're pop-up tent rangers. So we're cooking out in the elements. But this allows us to really keep our dishwater warm, especially when it's cold outside. We're able to get the fats off of whatever we're washing. So an absolute necessity. This sits inside of your bus tub. Another must-have. I carry 3 of these. Some competitions only require, some competitions don't require them. Some competitions require 3 of them. 1 to wash, 1 to rinse, and 1 to sanitize, based on health codes in that particular county. We usually carry all 3. 1 stays in the vehicle with some of our equipment, and the other 2 are wash and rinse. This immersion heater plugs in and sits in your water. And within 5-10 minutes, this water is piping hot. I'm talking to the point it will burn you. This is a 5.5-inch immersion heater found on Amazon. They've also got a 12-inch for a deeper container. An absolute necessity if you're out in the open.
And it's not often that it gets cold in Texas, but we've been at some cook-offs where it's been 25, 28 degrees, and that's been a lifesaver.
Absolutely. These tables we're sitting at right now are 6-foot lifetime tables. We bought these at Costco some I don't know, 10 years ago. Still going strong, but they're only 24 inches tall. Something like this, 12-inch PVC cut, and I put caps on the end under the legs, and they raise them up 36 inches countertop level. Bending over this for 5, 10, 15 minutes, half an hour trying to prep your meats or whatever you might be doing is hard on the back. This brings it up to tabletop level, an absolute necessity. I cannot do without these at an event. Simple small pot to warm up your sauces or anything else that might need warming up at an event. Guys, the pop-up tent is an absolute necessity. I didn't bring mine, I didn't open it, but spend the extra bucks to get a quality pop-up tent. You want a quality pop-up tent. The pop-up tent with the cross beams for that inner support. If you buy a cheap one without the inner support, you're throwing away money. The first time you cook at an event where there's some strong winds, it's going to destroy that pop-up tent. So spend the money, and you'll be better for it. Another thing, off camera, I've got my wood. You want to find a good source of wood, fuel. If you're buying wood from Joe Bob down the street, chances are each time you go get a batch of wood, man, it's going to be a little different. And I learned that early on in our cooking, in the course of our cooking. So find a good source of wood that is consistent. I cook with Western wood. It is kiln dried to a specific moisture content. So every time I go get a batch of that wood, I know exactly what it is. You know, Mom will tell you about the time I picked up some wood from some character off the streets and took it to an event. Needless to say, I came home very, very unhappy and will not do it again.
When you just buy it off the street like that, while it looks like it may be dried, it's still maybe a little bit green. And that day, our products showed that it was still green.
Oh, absolutely. A mat on these plastic tables. A silicone mat bought on Amazon, and it just stops things from sliding around. An absolute necessity as well. Guys, gals, those are some of the basic supplies that I take to an event. Next area I want to get into are expenses. These cook-offs are man, they've gotten expensive over the years. The price of meats, the price of fuel, everything, entry fees have gone up. So this is not a hobby that you want to get into lightly. This is not a hobby that you want to come to and not be serious about, because it by the time you get to an event, you are $500-600 into that event. Entry fees, you know, entry fees start someplace in the neighborhood of can be anywhere from $100 to $300. Most of the times they're about $150 to $250. So entry fees alone will cost. Next item, big item, and you can't afford to skimp on it, are meats. You want quality meats. These guys at events are just such great cooks that you cannot afford to come to an event with substandard or lesser quality meat. So, you know, by the time you spend the $75 to $150 on quality brisket, you want something in return. So spend that money to put yourself ahead of the game. If you're anything like Mom and I, you're paying for a hotel overnight, sometimes 2 nights. So again, these expenses can really add up very quickly. That is my dog trying to chase the cat along the fence, guys. Sorry about that. That is Trooper. Another thing, one of the biggest things I want to talk about are team dynamics. If you're new to competition cooking, you know, it might be so much less intimidating if you come in with a buddy or a group of buddies. That is a nice, easy way to get into it. Nothing wrong with that, but man, you've got to be 100% certain that everybody on that team is on the same sheet of music. Team dynamics can really wreck a cook-off team very quickly. Team dynamics, just so important. If you're coming in with a partner or 2 or 3 partners, man, you've got to really sit down with those guys and let them know. Talk about each person's role. You've got to understand that there can only be one head cook. If you want one person cooking this meat, another person cooking this meat, then that's exactly what it's going to be. Don't go in there trying to tell them how to do it, what to do it. It's just going to cause some hurt feelings and some bad blood. If you really look around the nation at competition teams, the teams that are doing very well, the teams that are consistently doing well, tend to be the teams that are husband and wife, or husband by himself, or some of the smaller teams. The minute you start bringing, and this is my opinion, but the minute you start getting these large teams, these party teams, man, things tend to go south very quickly. Things tend to go south very quickly.
Okay. The other thing is, when you have more than one cook, a lot of times you may have somebody that's serious, and you may have some people that are partying, that like to party. So if one of your cooks are partying on Friday night, and then on Saturday morning, they're not in any shape to do, if they're the rib cooker, or if they're the brisket cooker, or the chicken cooker, which means one of the other cooks have to step up to the plate, and that's not the meat that they want to do. So it just plays into, you know, knowing your role, what the dynamics of the team is.
Moving on with the team, shared expenses, man. How are we going to pay for this event? Are we going to split things evenly? If we're splitting things evenly, who's going to take home the trophy? How are we going to split those winnings? You know, some major questions that you and your team are going to have to get ironed out. That way there aren't any hurt feelings, man. You know, very, very important. There's so many teams around the nation that have started, and within 3-4 cook-offs, man, they're broken up. Sometimes it's because people aren't serious enough. Other times it's just the infighting. But these are just some of the things that you really have to iron out before you move on. So the last thing we want to touch on is the steep learning curve to competition barbecue. How can we cut that learning curve? For us, that learning curve was about 2 years. So we took our lumps for a solid 2 years. Today is so much more expensive compared to when we first started. I don't think anybody should have to wait that long. One of the quickest ways to cut that learning curve is to take a barbecue class. I'm not here to sell you on our class. Yes, I am. I want you to take our barbecue class. But seriously, guys and gals, the quickest way to cut that learning curve is to take somebody's competition class. There's just so many good cooks nowadays that, and this is just so expensive, that waiting 2 years, waiting a year and a half, 2 years to finally find your way. I don't think very many people can really stand those expenses. I think lots of people are going to quit before that time comes. Skip a cook-off and take a competition class. take a competition class, take somebody's class, take our class. We started giving our class in 2015, and to date, if it wasn't for COVID, we would be well over 400 grand and reserve grand championships out of our class. So I'm here to tell you that our class is a solid class. We've had lots of students come out of our class with immediately go to grand champs, immediately go to top 10 finishes, first place, etc. So I am absolutely sold on our class. I know your family and friends have been telling you how good your barbecue is. That's why you're now interested in competition barbecue. But competition barbecue is so much different than backyard barbecue. And remember, your friends and family are eating for free, so they're going to tell you what you need to hear. But competition barbecue is just so much different than backyard barbecue. There's no comparison. I've seen so many cooks who've been told that those very words, your barbecue is awesome, you need to go compete. I've seen them come out here and compete and walk away with hurt feelings, walk away immediately turned off. It's not what they thought it was. Somebody's cheating, etc., etc. I've got a buddy, man. I brought him out with me for a couple of cook-offs. He went out, bought all equipment for a cook-off, and one cook. The next week, all his equipment was up for sale. I mean, he was turned off that quickly. So again, take a class. If you're not able to take a class, you definitely want to go visit some cook-offs. You can see how people set up. Go out there and judge. Be a taste judge. Get an idea of what tenderness in competition barbecue is like, what texture is like, what the flavor profiles are like. That way you'll have an idea when you do start cooking. And one of the greatest things you can do, one of the easiest things you can do while you're out at an event is to stop in and talk to some of the experienced cooks. For the most part, 99% of cooks out there, man, are so approachable. They're not going to be standoffish. Don't be afraid to stop in and talk to somebody. Just make sure you're choosing the right moment. Don't go try to talk to somebody when they're in the midst of wrapping or slicing or something along those lines. Definitely stop in and talk to Mom and Papa Joe. If you see us out there on the competition circuit, we will try to impart the little knowledge that we have onto you to make sure that you're successful. But again, don't be shy. Don't be shy. And as we continue to talk about classes, our competition class is getting ready to be available online in the next couple of weeks or so. It's going to make a great Christmas gift. So be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, our YouTube channel is well on the way. We've got some very good videos out there right now, some very good tutorials that will help you on your journey to becoming a quality competition cook. So take a look. Be sure to subscribe, guys. I guarantee you it's going to be nothing but good shit and not the bullshit. So between now and the time you purchase our class, man, we want to wish you nothing but awesome luck in whatever endeavors you choose to follow. You guys take care. Thanks for joining Mom and Papa Joe's once again. Hit that subscription button.